Have you ever wished you could bake your own delicious pie crusts but felt like the process was overwhelming and insanely time-consuming? Store-bought pie crusts can seem like an easy hack, but there's nothing like the quality and taste of a real homemade pie crust. Even if you've never made your own crust before, I want to encourage you that with this easy recipe, you really can do it, and without hardly any extra time added. So today I'm going to teach you how I make my 3-minute, 3-ingredient pie crust recipe. And stick around till the end and I'll give you a screenshot of the recipe. And as a bonus, I will be sharing my favorite little known kitchen tool that I think everyone should have, especially for pie crust. So first, let's talk about the 3 simple ingredients that you are going to need. All-purpose flour. I use organic, but I don't always, and so you can use whatever you have on hand. Butter is your other ingredient. I use salted. Some people are kind of finicky about salted versus unsalted, but honestly, whatever you choose, whatever's in your fridge is going to be great. You're not going to ruin this recipe. And milk. Some people like to use water in their pie crusts. My grandma and my mom have always used milk, and so that's what I use, and trust me, it is delicious. For this recipe, we'll be making a top and bottom pie crust, like what you might use for a standard size circular apple pie. I also use this to make one long pie crust to top my chicken pot pie in like a 9x13 pan. Step 1 is to measure 2 cups of flour into your bowl. In my kitchen, it is low pressure baking, so don't get super hung up on weighing or measuring to the tiniest degree. Just scoop your flour and shake it a little so it's not compact and so it's even on the top. You might be thinking, but what if I put too much in and then I ruin the whole batch? Don't worry. If it's too dry at the end, you can always add more milk. For step 2, you will add in a 1/2 cup of butter. And here's the secret for really flaky crusts. You want your butter to be cold straight from the fridge. Think about all the layers of a croissant for a second. All of those layers are made by butter, and in a pie crust, it is a similar thing happening. I like to chop my butter up with a sharp knife because that is going to make it easier to incorporate into the flour. All right, here is where my favorite kitchen tool comes in, the pastry blender. I would give up a lot of other kitchen items like measuring cups before I gave up this because it is so handy for making things like biscuits or pie crusts. This one is by Good Cook. You can find it for less than $10 on Amazon. I will link it in the description below. So here we are. We're going to use this for our pie crust recipe today. But never fear, even if you only had your hands or a fork, you can still easily make this pie crust. This is just helpful for cutting the butter and getting it all incorporated. The pastry blender just helps us break the butter into smaller pieces and incorporate it into the flour. If you are using a fork, just mash and chop and stir. You can even use your hands. You want varying sizes of butter, nothing too huge, but also not so small that you can barely see it anymore. I'd say pea size is a good comparison. Step 3, add a 1/2 cup of milk and start mixing. It will seem dry at first, but as your butter softens, it will add more moisture and start to come together. Don't be afraid to get messy. You'll need to use your hands to get it all into a ball. If it's too dry and crumbly at this point, add a sprinkle more of milk and keep working it. That's it! Beautiful and easy pie crust, ready to go on whatever you're making. If I'm using a top and bottom crust, I'll just split it in half and roll it out into circles. My kids are always asking for a lick of dough, so when I cut off the extra scraps around the edges, there's usually little hands waiting for a taste. So as promised, here's the recipe, so pause the video now to screenshot and save for later. As I close out this video, I want to share an encouraging story that has to do with this exact recipe actually. When I was pregnant with my first child, I was at a 4th of July picnic and I brought a homemade pie crust, everything like that. And one of the moms there told me, just you wait, you will never bake like this again. And yeah, even to this day, with 4 children, I'm busy, I still love to bake and I still love to use my own homemade pie crust. I understand what it's like to have a busy life, a messy kitchen, always doing dishes, lots of interruptions, and yet I still love to bake, and I want to share that with you and share just normal mom life while I'm baking and while I am sharing recipes that will be helpful for you, that are quick, they're easy, and that your family's gonna love. So stay tuned for my next video making an easy homemade apple pie. I'll also be sharing about a fun kitchen tool that makes it quick and stress-free. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So today I'm going to teach you how I make my 3-ingredient, they're very loud. Yay!
Hello! Sinking in, and it's like sinking in water to skin.
Oh!
It wants.
That's right. Easy screenshot of the recipe was what I meant to say. When you say yeah, does that mean it's time to start talking or?
Action.